Them balloons. Hey.
Because you didn't buy it, you broke. You bought the turtle.
We didn't buy the turtle.
So, you might have money. Ask me.
We got.
That's how life is. Everybody's not in the best situation, you know, but it's no excuse. You gotta go out there and perform. A lot of people want to see me fail. It ain't gonna happen.
I'm in this bitch. Yeah.
The NFL offseason flipped upside down when what was supposed to be harmless locker room banter turned into one of the most replayed clips on the internet. What started as laughs and casual talk suddenly became a headline moment. And right in the middle of it, Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who already lives under constant scrutiny for every move he makes, every word, every look, every breath. This time, it was not about a throw, not about stats, not even about his last name. It was about a comment that crossed the line during a live show packed with young NFL talent, including Micah Parsons, Shedeur Sanders, and the Sanders brothers. The energy at first felt normal, light jokes, smiles, that playful back and forth you expect when elite athletes share a stage. The vibe was competitive but friendly. You could tell everybody wanted to shine a little. That is part of the culture. But then the temperature changed. New York Giants running back Cam Skattebo dropped a line that instantly tightened the room. He called Shedeur broke. He tried to frame it as humor, tied it to draft position, contract numbers, a slick jab about being picked later than other guys. But it did not land like a joke. It landed heavy, because that type of comment does not speak on football ability. It does not challenge arm strength. It does not question decision-making. It goes straight at status, at money, at pride. And when you aim there, you better know what you are talking about. The room felt it. The cameras caught it. That split-second shift where laughter stops and people start processing what was just said. And here is the reality.
His contract, he had an equity clause in his deal with Gatorade. That clause basically said, I'm not just here as a name or a body. I want part of what's being built off of me. I want ownership in the outcome. So that clause essentially just preserved his interest. He walked away with his corrected status in the contract. And
that comment showed a misunderstanding of today's NFL economy. This is not the league from 20 years ago. Branding matters. Leverage matters. Marketability matters. Shedeur Sanders has been building his platform long before he ever stepped into an NFL stadium as a pro. His name carries weight beyond draft position. That is just facts. What made the moment louder was how Shedeur handled it. He did not snap back. He did not escalate. He did not try to out-talk anyone. He let the silence breathe. And in a room full of cameras, silence can echo louder than shouting. He gave Cam a look, a calm, controlled look, the kind that says, "You sure you want to go there?" without speaking a word. Then came the smile, not a friendly grin, not a nervous reaction. It was the kind of smile that tells you the joke just flipped on the person who told it. That was composure. That was experience. That was understanding how moments work in the social media era. The fastest way to lose control is to chase it. And Shedeur was not chasing anything. He knew trading words would only feed the clip machine. He knew arguing would turn it into something bigger. That is discipline. That is media training. That is living in the spotlight long enough to understand that every reaction becomes content. And content becomes narrative. Cam Skattebo, on the other hand, looked like he was trying to carve out space, trying to get louder in a room already filled with stars. That happens. Competitive guys want attention. They want presence. They want moments that get replayed. But calling Shedeur Sanders broke in 2026? That is not bold. That is reckless. It is like calling Bill Gates short on cash. It does not connect to reality. You can throw around jersey sale numbers. You can debate endorsement totals. You can talk NIL history and brand equity. But even without pulling spreadsheets, the truth is clear. Shedeur does not move like a typical rookie. He moves like an enterprise. His value was established long before draft night. His audience did not magically appear after signing a contract. It followed him from college, from high-profile games, from national broadcasts, from years of visibility. That is why the insult missed. It could not land because it was aimed at the wrong target. And here is the deeper layer people are not talking about. When you attack someone's money in a room full of cameras, you reveal what you think success looks like. You reduce value to draft slot, to base salary, to short-term numbers. But modern NFL success is layered. Visibility, influence, sponsorship, long-term positioning. Those pieces matter. Shedeur understands that blueprint. His reaction showed confidence rooted in preparation, not ego. He did not need to defend himself because his portfolio speaks quietly. And quiet confidence is dangerous. It makes loud comments feel small. It makes forced jokes look desperate.
History that a 5th round pick has led jersey sales.
Yeah.
Nobody is watching 3rd, 4th round as much as we would.
Shedeur Sanders has sold the most amount of jerseys out of any rookie this year, but out of the top 10 jersey seller, 375,000 jerseys to match his NFL contract. Sometimes the brand is...
The internet caught that energy shift instantly. That is why the clip exploded. Not because of the insult alone, but because of how it was handled. In today's league, composure is currency. Every young quarterback gets tested. Sometimes on the field, sometimes in interviews, sometimes in rooms full of competitors trying to measure themselves against you. This was one of those tests, and Shedeur passed it without breaking a sweat. No shouting, no chaos, no meltdown, just control. Because when you are dealing with someone who already built a brand before stepping fully into the league spotlight, you are not talking about a player checking his banking app after practice. You are talking about a platform, a machine, a presence that creates value every single time a camera flips on. That is the part Cam Skattebo missed completely. This was never about a rookie salary number. It was never about base pay. It was about understanding the difference between income and influence. When attention follows you naturally, that attention becomes currency. Every clip, every post, every jersey sighting in the crowd, that is value stacking in real time. So when people reduce Shedeur Sanders to draft position math, they are looking at the smallest slice of the pie. The real conversation is not about what he earns on paper. It is about how he negotiates when real opportunities show up with serious money attached. And this is where it gets interesting. The chatter that started circulating was not about him grabbing the first flat endorsement check thrown his way. It was about him thinking bigger. Instead of treating deals like quick cash grabs, the story suggested he pushed for upside, equity-style participation, long-term positioning, a stake tied to growth instead of a one-time payout. Now, whether every number floating around online is exact is not the point. The concept is what matters. Cash is payment. Ownership is leverage. Even a small percentage in a growing brand can outpace a flashy headline check if that company keeps climbing. That is the difference between making money and building wealth. One pays bills, the other builds foundations. One expires, the other compounds. And when you understand that difference early in your career, you are not moving like a rookie. You are moving like an executive. That is why the broke line was never going to hit the way Cam expected. If you throw a shot at someone whose approach is built around long-term value, you are not exposing weakness. You are showing you do not understand the scoreboard. And the scoreboard is not just the one on Sundays anymore. The same misunderstanding shows up in the endorsement debates that have followed Shedeur for years. Online conversations love big numbers. People argue about whether a player deserves a deal yet. They act like draft position sets a financial ceiling. That logic is outdated. Modern athlete economics runs on attention, brand gravity, and cultural pull. It is not just about where you were picked. It is about whether your name moves product. That is why companies like Nike and Gatorade monitor more than highlights. They watch engagement. They watch audience loyalty. They track how fans react when your name trends. They study identity. They look at whether you are just an athlete or a brand people feel connected to. That connection is powerful. It drives purchases. It drives partnerships. Then there is the jersey conversation. People oversimplify it constantly. Licensed merchandise works through layered agreements. Revenue splits depend on union structures, licensing pools, and specific contract terms. You cannot just grab a viral post and assume you know what someone earns. But here is what matters. When fans buy your jersey because they believe in your story, that creates a revenue lane most players never touch in a meaningful way. When your jersey becomes more than fabric, it becomes a statement. So when Cam Skattebo made that comment, he was not just delivering a weak punchline, he was revealing a surface-level understanding of how money flows in today's league. Contract money and brand wealth are not the same thing. A paycheck is not a portfolio. Salary is not scale. And in 2026, players who understand that difference are playing a completely different game. And here is another layer he forgot. In today's NFL, the player does not always need to respond. The internet handles it. If you take a shot at a polarizing, high-profile quarterback, the reaction is instant. The clip spreads. Comments stack up. Analysts weigh in. Suddenly, the person who tried to look dominant is explaining context while the other guy never raised his voice. That is modern accountability. Trying to sound alpha in a viral moment is easy. Understanding the ecosystem you are standing in is harder. Football is not just a sport anymore. It is a content engine. It is a business platform. It is media, branding, licensing, partnerships, digital presence, and cultural relevance all stacked together. Too many people still think NFL money begins and ends with a rookie contract. That is the surface-level view. The deeper reality is that football is just one revenue lane. The most prepared athletes treat the league like a launch pad, not a paycheck. They understand that Sunday performance feeds Monday marketing, and Monday marketing builds Thursday negotiations. A later draft slot might limit a base salary at first, that is true, but it does not cap earning potential outside that deal. Endorsements, appearances, digital platforms, brand collaborations, strategic investments, content monetization. Those lanes can grow faster than a standard contract if the athlete has what most players never generate organically: attention. Attention is the multiplier. Sponsors buy it. Media platforms amplify it. Fans reward it. And Shedeur Sanders has operated in high-attention environments for years. That matters. Some players avoid the spotlight because it can be overwhelming. Some chase it recklessly and lose control of it. Very few know how to manage it without letting it manage them. That is the real skill set here. He understands timing. He understands when to speak and when to stay quiet. He understands how to let a moment breathe instead of forcing it. That discipline carries over from the field to business. When you operate with that level of awareness, cheap shots do not destabilize you. They just create more visibility. And visibility, when controlled, turns into leverage. So the bigger lesson from that viral moment is not about who joked better. It is about who understands the modern NFL economy. One side approached it like playground banter. The other side approached it like brand management. That gap is huge. That is exactly why the "broke" comment was not just disrespectful. It was strategically careless. The insult was built on an outdated assumption. It felt like a joke written for an old version of the NFL where contract size was the only scoreboard that mattered. That league does not exist anymore. This is a different era. In today's game, composure is currency. The player who keeps control in a viral moment protects his brand. The player who reacts emotionally becomes the content. And in that clip, Shedeur Sanders did not take the bait. He did not give the cameras what they were hoping for. That meant the spotlight did not attach itself to his anger. It attached itself to the other guy's energy. People watching could feel that shift instantly. It was not even about the words anymore. It was about intent. And the intent came through loud and clear. Cam Skattebo was not really speaking to Shedeur in that moment. He was speaking to the cameras. He was speaking to the timeline. He was speaking to the audience waiting for a viral soundbite. He was trying to win a moment, not win a debate. And that is the trap with live shows, podcasts, and panel setups where athletes are half competitors and half entertainers. Everyone wants the clip that trends. Everyone wants the quote that gets replayed. But here is the problem with chasing that kind of spotlight. Once the words leave your mouth, you lose control of how they land. The internet decides, the crowd decides, and the crowd can tell the difference between playful trash talk and a personal swipe. That "broke" label did not sound like friendly competition. It sounded like a status play. It felt like an attempt to shrink someone publicly so you look bigger by comparison. That is why the room went quiet. Everyone has experienced that moment when jokes shift into something sharper, when the tone changes just enough that people stop laughing and start observing. That tension is real, and in that silence, Shedeur's reaction became the story. He did not defend himself. He did not start listing endorsement numbers. He did not posture or flex. He did not try to reclaim dominance. That restraint reads as confidence, and real confidence cannot be manufactured for long. It shows up in how you sit, how you smile, how you choose not to react. By staying calm, he flipped the pressure. Now Cam Skattebo was in a no-win position. If he doubled down, it would look bitter. If he backed off, it would look like retreat. If he laughed it away, it would feel like damage control. Meanwhile, Shedeur stayed steady. That made him look like the most composed person in the room. Not loud, not defensive, just controlled. That is why the clip kept circulating, not because people love insults, but because people recognize when disrespect fails. Watching someone attempt to take a shot and miss, that spreads fast, especially when the person on the receiving end does not flinch. And here is where it gets deeper. Moments like that do not disappear when the cameras turn off. They stretch into the next week, into reaction videos, into debate shows, into locker room whispers, into comment sections that never sleep. A single joke can grow into a narrative, and narratives shape perception. For Cam, the narrative almost writes itself, a storyline suggesting he was trying to punch up for relevance. Even if that was not his intention, perception becomes reality in the attention economy, and perception moves faster than explanation. When you look like you are reaching for attention, that label sticks quickly. In this era, perception is the penalty flag. For Shedeur Sanders, the consequence was almost the opposite. The calm reaction strengthened his image. It reinforced the idea that he understands the moment, that he knows when to speak and when to let silence do the work. That kind of discipline carries weight in a league where quarterbacks are expected to lead not just huddles, but headlines. And here is the bigger takeaway. In the modern NFL, emotional control is part of the job description. Franchises want players who can handle pressure without spiraling. Sponsors want athletes who will not explode in unpredictable ways. Fans want leaders who look steady when tension rises. Every viral moment becomes a test. This was one of those tests, and instead of turning into a shouting match, it turned into a masterclass in restraint. Shedeur did not need to clap back, because the silence amplified his position. The more composed he looked, the more the original comment felt unnecessary. That contrast is powerful. Live platforms create pressure to perform. They tempt athletes to outshine each other verbally. But the real power move is knowing when not to compete for noise. Noise fades. Control lasts. What made that clip so revealing was not the insult itself. It was the exposure of motive. People can sense when a line is thrown for laughs, and when it is thrown for leverage. The audience felt the difference. And once the audience feels it, the framing begins. That is how a simple comment turns into a storyline about maturity, brand awareness, and who truly understands the business they are operating in. His brand did not take a hit in that moment. It got reinforced, calm, controlled, unbothered. Not because Shedeur Sanders acted like nothing happened, but because he treated the moment like it had value. He understood what was at stake. That is the lesson a lot of young players learn too late. When you are in public, every reaction is a business decision. You can win a shouting match and still lose the moment. You can deliver the sharpest comeback in the room and still walk away looking unstable. The audience is not just judging the words, they are judging your posture, your tone, your composure. They are watching who you become while the pressure is rising. And in today's NFL, perception moves faster than stats. Fans are always watching. Shedeur supporters do not just track box scores. They track respect. They track narrative. They track every slight, real or perceived. And when something feels off, they react like a community protecting one of their own. That response machine does not need instructions. It activates on instinct. That is why Shedeur did not even have to speak. The timeline started moving on its own. If Cam Skattebo believed it was just harmless joking, he is now seeing the difference between private trash talk and public disrespect. One stays in the locker room. The other becomes a digital receipt. And digital receipts do not expire. They get clipped, reposted, debated, and analyzed from every angle. That is the reality of the attention era. The wild part is, Shedeur never had to win the argument. He did not have to dominate verbally. He did not have to embarrass anyone. All he had to do was stay steady, long enough for the audience to notice who shifted first. The second the energy changed, the cameras captured it. The silence told the story. Because the moment was never about vocabulary. It was about posture. It was about who looked secure and who looked rattled. When the tone shifted from playful to pointed, Cam tried to weaponize draft position. He tried to use round numbers like they are permanent labels. But draft slots do not define long-term value. They never have for players who understand timing, leverage, and brand architecture. Football is the stage. Business is the marathon. Shedeur Sanders has been running that marathon in public for years, managing attention, managing expectations, managing noise. That is not accidental. That is discipline. So when the broke comment landed, it did not expose weakness. It exposed a mindset stuck in an outdated measurement system. In this era, the richest player is not always the one with the biggest base salary. It is the one with the strongest platform, the one who stays composed when tested, the one who understands that the internet can amplify chaos, but it can also reward control. And that is what people overlooked. Shedeur did not win because he argued better. He won because he refused to look shaken. He let the room sit in that awkward pause. He let the cameras zoom in on the silence. He let that slight smile communicate everything without a single defensive word. That smile said, "I see what you're doing." It said, "I don't need to respond." And that restraint is powerful in a league where emotional reactions get replayed on loop. Quarterbacks especially are judged differently. They are expected to be leaders, stabilizers, the face of the franchise. Every public interaction becomes part of that evaluation. When you stay composed under a subtle challenge, it builds trust. It signals maturity. Sponsors see it. Front offices see it. Teammates see it. Even opponents notice it. Meanwhile, when someone tries to elevate themselves by shrinking another player, the optics can flip quickly. In a matter of seconds, confidence can look like insecurity. A joke can look like projection. And the crowd picks up on that shift immediately. That is why the clip kept circulating. Not because it was loud, but because it was revealing. It showed two different approaches to the spotlight. One chasing the moment, the other controlling it. In today's NFL ecosystem, control is everything. Control of emotion, control of narrative, control of brand direction. The loudest person is not always the most powerful one. Sometimes the most powerful move is letting the other person talk themselves into a corner. And that is exactly what happened. Shedeur Sanders kept his hands on the wheel while the noise swirled around him. He did not swerve. He did not accelerate into drama. He let the internet debate. He let the commentary cycle spin. He stayed planted. You could see it on the faces around him. The smiles faded. The body language shifted. A few guys leaned back instead of leaning in. That is how you know a line crossed from playful to personal. They understood instantly it was not clever, it was not sharp, it was not strategic. And they also knew something else, Wayne. The real response was not going to happen on that stage. It was going to come from the crowd. That is how you measure influence in today's NFL. The player who needs to raise his voice to grab attention usually does not control it. The player who can stay still while someone else overextends, that is the one the timeline ends up dissecting the next morning. If Cam Skattebo wanted a viral moment, he definitely got one. The clip traveled. The debates popped up. Reaction channels went live. But the moment did not elevate him. It framed him. It created questions about intent. It sparked conversations about motive. And in the attention economy, framing matters more than volume. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders kept it moving. No dramatic response, no emotional spiral, no back and forth tour. Just calm body language and controlled energy. That posture speaks loudly. It signals security. It signals awareness. It signals someone who understands that respect is the real currency in this league. And the people who try to take it publicly are often the ones worried about their own supply running low. Because here is the truth. Screaming for relevance and commanding presence are two very different things. Respect cannot be forced in a viral clip. It builds over time. It builds through consistency, through composure, through understanding when to engage and when to let silence handle the job. That is what separated the two sides in that moment. One side chased noise, the other protected position. And position is power. The reason the clip stuck was not because people love drama. It stuck because it revealed something. It showed how quickly a joke can turn into a test. It showed how draft position talk can expose mindset. It showed how a calm reaction can shift the entire temperature of a room. That is leadership under pressure. Now it is your turn. If you have been following this whole situation from the first clip to the reactions that followed, drop your thoughts in the comments. Was it harmless banter that got misread? Or did Cam reveal more about his mindset than he intended? Let's talk about it. And if you want more breakdowns like this, real NFL storylines, real behind-the-scenes power dynamics, real analysis on the moments that shape perception, make sure you are tapped in with Sunday Stories. We do not just replay headlines. We break them apart. Every twist, every subtle exchange, every power move that mainstream coverage skips past. Because the league is not only about touchdowns and contracts anymore, it is about leverage, narrative, influence. So lock in, hit subscribe, drop a comment, share it with someone who understands the game beyond the box score. Stay connected with Sunday Stories, where the real NFL stories live and the quiet moments speak the loudest.